Today on Triad Perspectives, an outstanding anniversary is making students and North Carolina A&T staff members proud. Find out all about it. People who are hungry in our communities are getting a meal that's saving their lives. And if you're planning to travel out of the country soon, you don't want to miss the information we have for you. It's very important. Happy anniversary to the A&T Register. It's the campus newspaper here at North Carolina A&T that keeps up with all the dating things that go on here, what's happening on our university campus. Joining me today are two of the advisors of the paper. We'd like to welcome Emily Harris and Dr. Kim Smith. And also, we're joined by a former instructor from here at A&T in the Journalism and Mass Communication Department, Dr. Kenneth Campbell, who's now currently teaching at the University of South Carolina. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Good. I know you miss us.
I certainly do.
And thank you, too, for joining us today. Everyone is excited about the Register being actually more than 100 years old, right?
That's right.
Good. Tell Kim, you start by telling us how it got started, or do you know?
I really don't know how it got started. We have, thanks to the Guilford Library, they have digitized copies going back since 1915. And now 2015, I said, what a great way to celebrate the 100th plus anniversary, because we've heard that the paper actually goes back through as late as 1894. And Emily could tell you more about that.
Tell us, Emily.
Well, I've never actually seen a copy of the 1894 issue of the Register, but I'm told that it originally started as just a one-off. They created news and printed it out, however they did it in the 1800s. And we have the digitized copies from 1915 on. And the Guilford Library's archives has all of that online and in person. You can actually go and put on special gloves and look at the old copies of the paper.
And obviously, Dr. Campbell, these papers, these newspapers, talk about very important things that are happening in our world. Is that right?
They talk about very important things happening in the world, but more importantly, happening on campus. The newspapers capture the life of A&T from the beginning up to the present, and it's a wonderful life.
So when you were here, what was hot then?
I was here in the 1980s, early 80s. I took a break and came back in the late 80s, and politics, student politics, national politics, it was just an exciting time.
And it surely is now, because most of the work is done by students, is that right?
All of the work is done by students. We have a dedicated editorial staff that handles story assignment, content creation for both the print and the online version. Our website is ncatregister.com. We also have a business staff that sells ads, which is pretty important for the publication of a newspaper. So I'm there as a guiding hand to bounce ideas off of and make sure things get done on time and in a timely manner. But the students primarily run the show.
So how much advising do you have to do, Dr. Smith?
Well, really, I'm not advising the paper. We just, Dr. Campbell and Professor Harris were actually advisors when they were here. I mean, Emily's now the advisor, but Ken was the advisor as well. And we went back and looked at 1,400 digitized archives and tried to pick out the 10 most important
1,400
copies of the newspaper.
Yes.
Dating back from 1915, the first archived edition, which features President James Dudley, to 2008, the election of President Barack Obama. And there's a lot of amazing history that we found in those papers, and maybe Ken can share some of what he learned.
Yeah, anything in particular?
Well, interestingly, the first two editions that are available are devoted to Dr. Dudley. The first issue in 1915, and then the second issue in 1925, 10 years apart. But that one is devoted to his death. And the entire newspaper, 16 pages, is devoted to Dr. Dudley.
Wow.
And Dr. Smith has put together a wonderful collection of front pages that we will be that we will have on exhibit, and it includes the death of Ron McNair, the astronaut. It includes the election of President Obama. It includes the 2 issues I mentioned about Dr. Dudley, and some other very very exciting issues.
So are the students that you advise now keeping up not only with what goes on campus, obviously what goes on in the whole world?
They are. Several things have changed, of course. We are digitized. We have the website, we have social media channels. We also subscribe to wire services, including the Associated Press and Tribune News, just like a regular daily professional newspaper would. But in addition to that, with the expansion and the digitization of the world, our students are able to reach out to alums and students who are traveling abroad to get commentary about what they're seeing wherever they are. So that's been pretty helpful. We've been able to localize stories and share more with other editors, not just on our campus, but student media leaders throughout the world.
Now, I see the papers on campus all the time. Do people outside our campus get the paper?
If they come to campus and pick up a copy. We only print 5,000 copies a week, and it is paid for with student fees. So technically, the papers are just for our students and people on our campus.
It's not that people who live in a community nearby can subscribe to it.
No, but they can get it online. Everything is uploaded to the website, and we actually have daily coverage and content on the website, eclectic.com.
That's good. No fee.
No fee. But one thing that was really interesting in the study that Dr. Smith and I were talking about when we were looking at the archives is some of the issues that we saw in the 60s and the 70s are still present today. So that was kind of interesting. There were still the same complaints about class enrollment, refunds, cost of tuition increases. So that has continued. Things haven't changed.
And it probably will continue.
Yeah, it probably will.
But I think one of the interesting things is there is a common theme throughout those 10 pages and editorial pages, which you've blown up, and they'll be on an exhibit from March 14th through April 1st at the Dudley Gallery. And Dr. Campbell will be talking about the 100 plus history, has a lecture as part of the Richard E. Moore series later on.
That'll be March 23rd. There's an exhibit launch, an grand opening on March 23rd in the Dudley Galleries at 5 p.m., followed by the Richard E. Moore lecture with Dr. Campbell at 6 p.m.
We won't ask you to give us a lecture here today.
Thank you.
And ruin what you're going to say, but what stands out in your mind that you're so proud of with the Register?
The students, the way the students have taken the paper and taken ownership of it, and are very much saying, this is our voice. And I think that started in 1933, because it's pretty clear to me that the initial issues of the paper were not student-driven. And so at some point the students said, we want this to be our paper. And I think that was about 1933. There's actually a handwritten copy, mimeographed copy available, where the students said, we're not depending on the university this time. We are doing it ourselves. And I think since that point, it has been the students' newspaper, the students' voice.
Do you ever find that you have to rein them in with some of their ideas and thoughts?
Sometimes, but what I try to do is serve as a listening board and say, well, okay, if you've heard X, Y, and Z, you need to verify. So who are you going to run that by? Who's your source? Who are you going to find who will say that that is indeed the case? Because students love rumors. I mean, who doesn't love a good rumor?
Who doesn't love a good rumor?
Right, but you can't print a rumor. So the trick is to figure out where that truth is in that rumor.
Yeah.
And work the story so that you can get to the bottom of the rumor.
Yeah, my experience in the 80s was very much the same, to help the students understand what journalism is. And it's not printing anything you hear, printing anything you want to say, but try to have some credibility. So that means accuracy. That means you have to verify your information. And they listen, and they will follow suit when they receive that kind of instruction and guidance.
So social media is a bear for us right now, isn't it?
Yes.
Talk about that for a second.
In regards to the Register?
Yes, and what students in general hear, see, and believe.
Well, first of all, if anybody thinks they have a solution to understanding social media, They don't. Nobody really understands the social media stuff. And I really don't know what to say about social media. It's newspapers on steroids.
Oh, very good.
Newspapers
Let me
on
write that down.
Newspapers on steroids with a more democratic bent to it. Now that everybody can become a journalist.
That's right.
Everybody can think they can become a
Okay,
journalist.
everybody can think they become a
That
There's a
clears it
difference
up.
between a blogger and a journalist. So.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Social media frightens me. I'm happy about it, but at the same time, I'm afraid of what it's going to do for us. All right, one more time, we'd like to hear where we can see Dr. Campbell and hear his lecture.
Today he'll be at New Academic Classroom Building 109. What is the title of your speech?
The title of my speech is The Social Activism and the A&T Register, the sit-ins and the media.
Okay. And then on March 23rd at the Dudley Art Gallery at 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. And I believe you're back March 30th, April 1st?
That's correct.
For the History Symposium.
Right.
Well, I would like to thank all of you for joining me today and for what a fine job you've done with the students to get this done. A&T is extremely proud of this, so thank you for coming back.
Thank you.
Thank you, too, for hanging in there. Okay.
I want to put a little shout out. Dr. Conchita Nadege was instrumental in getting the funding for the Innovation Grant. She's in the Department of History. This whole project is part of Journalism, History, Arts and Sciences, the A&T Register, and the galleries. So it is definitely a cross-collaboration type deal.
And that makes it work. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Stay right
you.
there. We're going to take a short break. And after we come back, you'll hear how you can help feed those in need or how to get food for yourself if you need it. Stay with us.
This is an A&T Historical Minute, and I am William Robson. The Corbett Sports Center opened December 3rd, 1978. It is named after Ellis F. Corbett, a 1931 graduate of A&T. Officially known as Mr. A&T, his official title was Sports Information Director. He performed many other roles on campus, including dorm counselor, and he was a member of the board in control of intercollegiate athletics. The three-story complex includes office space, classrooms, and 2 racquetball courts, in addition to an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Corbett also houses many of the human performance and leisure study courses at A&T. The Corbett Sports Center is the current home of the North Carolina A&T men and women's basketball teams and the swimming team. This has been a Historical Minute, and I am William Robson.
Welcome back. If you and your family are hungry, we may be able to help you today. Or if you want to help, we'll tell you about 2 things that you can do. My guests today are Don and Kristy Milholin, and they're from Out of the Garden. That's a very interesting name, but thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you for having us today,
there-
Sandra.
There are lots of hungry people, right?
Yes.
There are,
Do
unfortunately.
you have numbers?
Sure. I mean, the latest Gallup poll this last year showed that 27% of Greensboro and High Point's overall population is considered hungry or has asked for food at some point over the last year. But for our public school children in Guilford County, 67% qualify for free reduced meals. We're actually ranked as the hungriest area of the whole United States, believe it or not.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I mean, I think it's probably a variety of different things. I think it's job loss. I think it's the economy kind of tanking in 2008, 2009, which is really when we began our program. I think many jobs that have kind of gone out of this area, and just minimum wage jobs are hard to live on. So.
Well, I don't think there's anything a lot worse than having a hungry child.
Absolutely.
Why Out of the Garden? Why that title?
So, Out of the Garden project began, you probably have heard of the Goat Lady Dairy. Ginny Tate started Goat Lady Dairy, and her brother Steve asked us to sing at her memorial service. She passed away in 2009, and so my wife and I were listening to Steve, and he was just talking about how for his sister, everything came from the garden. For both of our grandmothers that were kind of our mentors, they loved the garden, and so we both later that day thought, Out of the Garden project would be really cool. I mean, there's obviously biblical reasons if you want there to be, but whether you do or not, everything comes from the earth and ultimately returns.
Now, how long ago did you start Out of the Garden?
So we began in 2008, the 2008-2009 school year, because we realized that there was a need in our home school, which was Moorhead Elementary. We started by packing around our dining room table 6 bags of food, starting in the beginning of that school year, committing to one another that we would do that, and working with that school counselor. She identified about 6 families that knew that they needed assistance. And so that whole year we came around our dining room table and people would come and help. And by the end of that school year, we were asked to start at another school, and then it just has grown ever since then.
So tell me how your project works.
Yep. So we have a warehouse, actually, as we're speaking. We have volunteers out at our warehouse 3 days a week. We pack food. We have many different projects. So today they're working on packing what we call our Operation Backpack. So we provide 2 meals for a family of 4 to have over the weekend. We're unique in the amount of food that we provide, about 7 pounds of food. And then we have volunteers who come to our warehouse, deliver it to schools every Friday morning. We serve nearly half the 127 schools in Guilford County with some sort of food assistance. We also have fresh mobile markets where fresh produce, bread, meat, as well as some food from the government that is donated. Everybody that comes to one of our 19 different locations every month gets about 65 pounds of food. And then we have a food reclamation initiative, which is taking food from school cafeterias that otherwise might be thrown away. And today we're providing 1,300 meals and feeding all of the rec centers in Greensboro the children who were there.
That's
And
incredible. That's a lot. That's a lot of food.
Yeah, but it's really
It's
fun.
a lot of
I mean,
food, and
it's really,
there's a lot of food in this town. It just needs to be kind of redirected and gotten to folks that are actually need it.
So what do you need from our viewers?
Well, you know, we always need volunteers. We always need hands to help us pack the food, go and get food, and deliver the food. You know, financial contributions are wonderful. We have buying power when we can, you know, buy in bulk. And, you know, we just need folks to kind of partner with us. We need faith communities we have this new food reclamation this summer that we're going to be working with some faith communities, providing Friday meals, along with the Guilford County School Nutrition. We're going to be doing the Friday meals, so we're going to need some faith communities to do that. So.
You know, one of the things during this storm, an unexpected thing, is we had 2 of our vehicles break down. One is unrepairable, so we need to find the resources to buy a new used box truck. We have 4 vehicles currently, but we do so many pickups and deliveries. The small box truck is what we use the most of, and unfortunately that's the one that happened to break down. So there's always a need for financial resources, but Kristy and I always say, if you're going to write us a check, that's great, but I'd rather you come out and volunteer first, because I think if you volunteer, you'll be hooked and
write a bigger check.
And write a bigger check. And we have 600 volunteers a month, and it really is unbelievable.
They're the lifeblood of our organization. When we wouldn't be able to do what we do without our volunteers. So.
I'm always amazed at how many people are sitting at home thinking, well, what can I do?
Right.
And they find a project like yours, Out of the Garden, and they think, yes, this is something great to do.
And it's very tangible. I mean, a lot of the times when when folks come to volunteer at the warehouse, they actually are packing food that's going to be going home with families that weekend. So, you know, it's very tangible.
Because of our snow dates recently, we literally had about 10 backpacks left over, and so we needed 1,000 or a few more every week, and so we'll be packing like mad today.
Do you have this far-reaching goal that you're going after?
You know, my dream has always been, and recently a couple organizations have offered assistance, but I was born and raised in Iowa, and though Iowa doesn't have a lot going for it, there's always food there, and we were always ranked #1 in education. They aren't today, but when I was growing up, we were always #1, and so my goal has always been to get a farm donated, manufacture and produce all the food we can for those in need, create jobs, create interest. You know, what better way? Syngenta has already offered to provide all the seed we need. What better way than to show people what we could do in this area as the hungriest area, but to try to feed everybody.
I want to tell you how much this community is so proud to have people like you who think about others, who want to do something to help others.
Absolutely.
It's so important. You know, I think about how if we all just stay in our own tunnel and pay attention to ourselves, we won't be able to help anybody.
We're all better when we're together. Yeah.
I really feel too that we're the lucky ones. I mean, it is amazing, I think, for our volunteers that if you come and volunteer, you feel like you're coming to help others, and in the end, you're the one who ends up being helped. So
Well, I thank you
we're the
both
lucky ones.
for helping.
Thank you so
very
much.
Don.
Appreciate
Kristy.
it.
Nice meeting you, and I
Nice
hope I'll
to
see
meet
you
you
so much
again
for having us.
Absolutely.
as we go forward.
Thank
you
you.
so much. There's more to come on Triad Perspective, so stick around to hear some extremely important things you need to know before you catch that plane to another country. We'll be back.
This is the North Carolina A&T State University Historical Minute. I'm Marilyn Parker. The Dudley Memorial Building houses more stone applications than any other building on A&T's campus. A sweep of 15 stones guide visitors to the main entrance. Built in 1893, the original facility contained a library, an auditorium, and administrative offices. In 1930, a fire led to a reconstruction, and the facility was renamed after A&T's second president, James B. Dudley. Today, the building is home to the Maddie Reed African Heritage and H.C. Taylor Art Galleries, music classrooms, and laboratories. The Dudley Memorial Building is located on the east side of campus, directly behind the statue of the A&T 4 and right across from Dudley Road.
So your clothes are packed, your reservations are made, but what about your safety? My guest is from the Guilford County Health Department, so I welcome Ms. Judy Southern, the Clinical Services Director. Nice to have you with us today. Good. Why is it so important now to get vaccinations if you're traveling internationally?
Well, it's always been important, and to get the optimum protection from illnesses and diseases, you really need to be vaccinated prior to your trip, and also more in advance than most people think. We have our international travel clinic at the health department, and we recommend that you come 3 to 6 months before your appointment.
Mm-hmm. And I bet a lot of people don't think they need to go that
No,
far
they
out,
don't
do
think
they?
so, but there are some vaccines that take time to build your immunity against that illness that they're protecting you from. So it's very important to get an appointment early and make your plans, because like our motto, a well-planned trip is the best prevention and protection from disease.
That's right, and bringing it back home to those of us who did not go overseas.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah, and the transmission that you can bring back with you to give to other Americans, United States.
And you were mentioning to me pregnant women in particular.
Okay, pregnant women, up until recently, we did not differentiate much with the pregnant women. I mean, they always need to have permission from their provider to travel to another country, and also need to be immunized to the diseases that are prevalent there. Sometimes you can't get those immunizations during pregnancy, some of the vaccines. However, just recently the Zika virus has come on the scene, and so we are warning pregnant women not to travel to certain countries. There's about 28 countries. Zika virus is new, really in the news, but it's been around since 1947 in Uganda.
But we're seeing devastating pictures of infants that were born with, I guess, their mother had Zika virus. Is that what that was?
Yes. Actually, in 2007, it became more prevalent again in Gabon, Micronesia, and Polynesia. And in the 2015, it began spreading in South America and Central America and the Caribbean. But particularly Brazil is one country that is up in arms a little bit about the scare, and I think they have reason to be. They had 4,180 cases of Zika between October 2015 and January 2016.
Wow. Wow, that's a lot.
Right.
That is an awful. And I don't want to pick on any one country.
Oh, I don't either.
But is there one place in particular that you would go to that you might be more susceptible to getting something?
Well, any tropical area that has high humidity, hot temperatures would be where more mosquitoes tend to populate. And the mosquito spread in the Zika virus actually happens to be an aggressive day mosquito.
Oh.
And so we don't, I think mostly about mosquitoes coming out at dark.
At night, that's right.
Right.
That's right.
But just speaking of Brazil, just the concerns have been expressed more there in terms of these birth anomalies, including microcephaly, but they're occurring in other places too.
And quickly, I want to ask you, everyone wants to go on a cruise.
Right.
So do you need vaccinations for cruises?
Yes, you do. It depends on your destination.
Tell us that you've got some phone numbers, and I want you to at least say it a couple of times.
Okay.
So start with that people can call to get an appointment to get a vaccination.
Yes, you can get an appointment at the Guilford County Department of Health and Human Services, the Department of Public Health in Greensboro and High Point by calling 336-641-3241. We accept at the health department 2 types of insurance, which is Blue Cross Blue Shield and United Healthcare. So if a person comes with that, they will not have to pay any fees when they come. However, if they don't have those types of insurance, they may have to pay in advance of getting the vaccine.
But it's well worth it, though.
Oh, it's very well worth it.
Okay, good.
Don't travel without consulting
Excuse me.
someone, your private provider, the health department, and other international travel sites, because it's just so important to know
Now
what
give us
you
that
need.
number again.
336-641-3245.
I need a vaccination now. Give it to them
Well,
again.
I think we could give you some.
I need it. I've got this cough I can't get rid of.
Right. And
But I thank you very much for
Thank
joining us
you.
today. And let me call that number, 336-641-3245. Somebody dial that for me right now so I can get over there.
Thank you,
That's great.
Sandra.
Thank you. That concludes our show for today. Thank you all for joining us, Triad Perspectives. Now, don't forget, you can watch us each Monday at 5:30 on Time Warner Cable Channel 69. You can connect with us on social media. Like us on Facebook at Triad Perspectives. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at TriadP_NCATJOMC. Watch us on YouTube by searching NC Aggie TV. You can also reach out to us on our website. Now, we'd love to hear from you. So leave your comments and your suggestions. Type blogs.ncat.edu/TV studio. I'd like to thank all of my guests for being with me today, and thank you for watching. I'm Sandra Hughes. I hope you have a great evening.